Hello, welcome back to another edition of the Alumni Interview Series. In this episode, it is a full panel. We have Carter, we have Dave, we have myself, and we have Kenny Piper. Kenny Piper is currently with the Durham Bulls in the Tampa Bay Rays organization, so he is in AAA right now, but he has a very unique story. He was very undersized as a freshman and going into as a junior and into it as a senior. And we showed those recruiting videos when he was at 15U, 17U, and then his senior year. So you'll get to see the full spectrum of how he developed his body going into Columbia College, where he ended up receiving a full ride. And then after his 5th year of college, he ended up getting drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays. So he is one step closer to Major League Baseball. And we wanted to share this story with you because I think it's going to resonate really well with a lot of you. I know it did with me because I was an undersized player as well. But the story that Kenny has, this is a must see. If you're listening to this podcast, that's great. But if you want to see those videos, just pull up the Spotify app or YouTube channel and you can watch the interview as it's going on. And you'll see all those videos with his recruiting metrics, as well as what his body looked like when he was a freshman, to the whole gambit. So I hope you enjoy this interview and I will see you on the other side.
This is a Rawlings Tigers podcast episode.
KP, I don't know if you know what's going on with the project, but Carter is kind of heading this up. I wouldn't say kind of, he is heading this up. And it was a brilliant idea. He wanted to reach out to all the alumni or the people that would want to speak and talk about their path from a recruiting perspective and just like their day in life inside the game. And it's morphed into this thing where it's become solid use cases for players to kind of look back and backtrack and be like, oh, this is how this guy did it. And your story and your unique path is very interesting. I still remember the conversation we had at Rams Park when you came up to me and you asked, I got a full ride from Columbia, but I kind of want to play Division I. And I say, what are we talking about? You have a full ride going to Columbia. And you were thinking about it. It's well, can I go to Division I out of that? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how you play. And then if you want to sit out a year, and then you ended up staying at your school for was it 3 years or 4 years? You went all the way to your senior year?
I was actually 5th year.
You were a 5th year. Oh, solid 5th year. And then you end up getting drafted. So everything ended up turning out the way that you wanted it to. So could you speak about that process? And you had a lot of D1 cats on your squad, and then also you also had a major leaguer that was on that roster as well. And then you had Anthony Green, who was probably the biggest name on that squad at that time. Could you talk about your path and how you got to where you are right now?
Yeah, you also sure. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm very thankful for the route that I came. I've had a lot of people ask me or throw the hypothetical out of how would your life have changed if you had hit a growth spurt sooner or if you had gotten D1 offers or whatever. And I don't know how things would have changed, but I'm so thankful for where I'm at. And yeah, so in high school, I was pretty undersized, short and weak, not just short, but yeah, it's funny because looking back now, I thought that I had everything that I needed, but I was definitely underdeveloped. And so, came up through high school, through the Tigers, and getting up there, started playing well in high school and started getting some looks from colleges. I toured some D2 schools. I really enjoyed Missouri State as well. I went to some camps, but I had coaches tell me I had fundamentals, but I didn't have the size, and so that discouraged me a little bit. But then, Columbia College came along and showed interest in me, and I really just fell in love with the coaching staff and their values and what they cared about as a program. And yeah, it just felt right. I felt like God was leading me there. And as much as I dreamt of playing D1 and my whole life I wanted to play professional ball, and I thought D1 was the route there. But that wasn't coming up at the time. I hadn't gotten any offers, and Coach Munns and Boomer at Columbia College really pursued me, and I really fell in love with their program. And so, I decided to go there, and I was able to play as a freshman, which was a huge part of my decision as well. Rather than coming into a deep Division I program, having to fight my way, I was able to jump into Columbia College and play right away. And I was very thankful for that. And along the way, started playing summer ball over the years, and got to play with good competition. NAI ball is there's talent there, but you're not facing 95 every day. And so in summer ball, I was able to get a taste of other really competitive guys who wanted the same thing I wanted. And there were some learning curves involved for sure, but I was able to compete with those guys. And there were some coaches along the way who asked me, if I was open to transferring. But Spiker, like we talked about, I did have a full ride at Columbia College, and loved my coaching staff. I didn't want to turn away from them. And I felt like if it was going to happen, then like if I was going to play pro ball, then it was going to happen anyways. That was a big shift in my faith at that point. That was like really like an opportunity to trust God in that moment. And I just turned my career over to Him, and stayed at Columbia College. Was there for 5 years, and ended up getting drafted, which was something that I've always dreamed of. And here I am now.
Did you ever like waver? Like I still remember back in Missouri State, or even in junior college, where like is this thing really going to happen? What's all this work? What's all this time invested? Is it worth it? Like did you ever have those nights where you end up saying, "No, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore"? Or did you always have this caution behind you where you just kept on pushing through, knowing that something would happen?
There was a point that I got there where I started to question things. I think most of my life, I remember my mom would tell this story of when we were at parent-teacher conferences, and my teachers used to say like, "Oh, what do you want to do? You're a good writer. Like, do you want to get into writing when you get older?" And I would just say, "I want to be a Major League Baseball player." And they're like, "Work. What do you want to do?" And I would just say that too. And so growing up, I mean, truly, that's all that I had in mind. And then there was a point, even I was older. In middle school is when guys started to sprout up, and I didn't. And it was around that I think I started to see like, okay, I have to work a little bit harder. And then in college, it was one of my good buddies, Andrew Warner, who also went to Columbia College. He was the only other player drafted out of Columbia College before me. And he was the best hitter I've ever played at the time. And he was drafted in the 40th round. And so there was a little bit of me when I saw how hard it was for him to get there, that I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to happen. And it was at that point that I kind of remember shifting, thinking like I don't think Major League Baseball is in the question anymore. I said, it's so hard just to get into pro ball. I said, that's my goal right now. If I can do that, I'll feel accomplished. And then by the grace of God, it actually, it did happen, and my name was called. And it was actually after I got back into pro ball, I started to see that again, that, man, I actually can like play Major League Baseball. Like this is a realistic goal. Once I, got my foot in the door, and then was exposed to the coaching staff and the other players, and began to grow a lot. And so that is my goal again. And I'm thankful that I've been able to work my way up the ladder. And but yes, all that to say, there were definitely times of wavering.
So would you say like it's icing on the cake at this point, or is it more of like pedal to the metal? Let's freaking go. Let's try to make this thing happen.
It's a little bit of both. Where I'm at right now is if I make it to the majors, that would be incredible. That's what I want. However, I don't find my identity in it. My identity is in, and if it happens, I mean, that'll be amazing. And like I'm still working every bit of, all my energy and all of my effort is going toward it. But I'm definitely not saying like, oh, let's just see what happens. I'm working for it. However, like, yeah, whatever happens. It's a tough road, and I'm thankful for where I'm at now. It's all that I've ever wanted in a career. But I feel, really content where I'm at, and just thankful that I've even come this far.
Explain that identity piece, because one of my friends, he's a CrossFit athlete. He just retired, and he said one of the biggest things that he struggled with outside of baseball was trying to redefine his identity. And I feel like a lot of athletes fall into that place because we are the center of attention majority of the time, whether that's in high school and going into college, or even in youth baseball. Like parents and family members are putting a lot of attention into the player, and then their identity gets wrapped up into the sport. And then next thing you know, they're just consumed by it, and they don't have anything outside of it. Can you explain that identity piece for you? Because that was a really good comment that you just made on my identity's not really wrapped up into it, but it's just a piece of it.
Yeah, for sure. I would say there was a long time of my life that I would say that I found my value in my performance or in my success. And I think I had always said, like, if I can just make it to Pro Bowl, if I can just make it to the major, then like I'll have done it. Like that's what I do. I would say that Jesus my life in college, and it was really at that time that I realized that none of those things really determine my value. If baseball is taken away, tomorrow, like I'll still have value. And that for me it's just in who Jesus made me to be. It's who, it's the fact that he died for me on the cross. Like he told me that I have value. And he did that. And so, yeah, when it comes down to it, baseball is what I do, and I love it. But regardless of what happens on the field, I know that I still have value, and I still have identity outside of it. And I think that is really important in baseball or really any sport, because I think it's so easy to get wrapped your performance. There are a lot of people watching. There's a lot of pressure, like you said, even pressure from family members a lot of times. But yeah, really there's nothing that I can do on the field that will determine who I am. And I'll always have security, regardless of what happens in baseball, knowing that, God is who defines me.
I've noticed that it's helped a lot of players out when they redefine who they are and they can get stuff outside of the game, whether that's your faith or something that you're really into, where you're helping out your community. You have a secondary job on the side where it kind of distracts you from the game a little bit. I feel like when players put their identity and wrapped up into their performance, that's where you start seeing that performance decline rather than excel. Have you noticed like you've been more free playing?
I think the season is a grind, and when it becomes your job, it changes the whole dynamic of it. And so, just being able to not, I mean, it really just takes the pressure off. And like you said, it frees you up to, if you go 0 for 4 with 4 punches, then, it doesn't like weigh on you like it would, because I've experienced a lot of freedom.
I think we have a unique opportunity here with both 2 NAI guys on this phone call, and then one of them going to junior college. Could you speak on, like, pro ball, everyone's really good and everyone comes from different levels. Can you speak on like the difference of the mentality from players from NAIA to the guys that you play that are just draft guys, D1 guys, D2 guys?
Yeah. So, it's very interesting. I mean, Carter, I don't know if you would agree with this, but, and frankly, I don't know how it changes, from D1 to D2 to NAIA. But we were out there competing and having fun and like trying to win. Pro ball is very different. The whole idea of playing for development versus like playing to win, I think changes a lot, and it changes the dynamic of things. It is interesting how everybody comes in with a different title, with different values associated with them, their signing bonus, their draft pick, all those things. But it is interesting how, like, once you get on the field, all those things just kind of like fizzle away. And I think that's my experience in the Rays. It might be different in other situations, but like once we got in the room after we were drafted, and they told us, everybody in this room can be a big leaguer, and we believe that you can and will be big leaguers, and we're going to develop you to be the best big leaguer that you can. And so, regardless of where you come from, I think it really just becomes an even playing field once you get in the thick of it, and once you're between the lines, you're just trying to hit the ball, catch the ball, throw the ball.
Yeah, I totally agree. First off,
Go ahead, Carter.
Our stories are like ridiculously similar. As you shared your path from Tiger ball through college baseball into pro ball, I was just sitting there like, yep, I thought that. Yep, I thought that. Spike, when you asked the question about if I had thoughts of like, hey, is all this time that I'm putting into this worth it? Like, yep, I had plenty of those thoughts. So I could definitely relate. But I experienced the same thing Pipe did. I always felt like I had a little chip on my shoulder because I was a small school kid, and I also wondered at times like, oh, what would it have been like if I played Division I baseball? And that ate me up for a while. And I think once I just stopped caring about it, honestly, and by the time you get to whatever pro ball level you're playing at, like after you get there, it's all the same. Like nobody really cares where you went to school. Outside of the first couple of weeks, no one cares where you played, whatever. Like you're all there and wearing the same uniform. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree, and I felt the same thing. Yeah, but the levels that I played at,
and it always felt like the whole D1, D2, D3 thing kind of faded after high school. To be honest with you, and then when you start like Thanksgiving's always the big party day where everyone from college comes back and they hang out because everyone's back at one single location, and then you kind of reminisce. But at the end of the day, like no one really cares. Like, oh, how's school? So it just feels like all that stuff kind of fades away when you end up getting to that school? Is that what it felt like for you guys?
Because it did. It is exactly what it felt like for me as well. And I would say because during that time of like we talked about the wavering, when I was feeling those things in college, and I did have a couple buddies who were playing D1, and you just wonder a little bit, like, oh, what really would that be like? But by the end of my career, and I think that, even you guys always preached it, like, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And I really believe that's true. I think regardless of what name you have on the front of your jersey, it really doesn't matter.
No, I've always wanted to ask you this, because this kind of goes into this conversation, because in high school, man, because I coached you in high school, you were always that guy who, everybody looked, you were undersized, had all the skill, but everybody was always looking at other names, and you just always quietly went about your business. Like, you were never talking about it. You were always being about it. You were overworking everybody, outworking everybody, prove yourself to get to the next level. And then it seemed like it happened the same way at college. Now you're the NAI guy. Other guys that you played with went on to play D1, D2, whatever it is. And you just kept quietly outworking everybody. And then you were the draft guy. And then you get into pro ball, and now you're the NAI guy coming into pro ball. Now you're quietly outworking everybody else. How did you go about your business and kind of drown out all the other noise that was out there that I'm sure you heard at times, but you just always had that innate ability to just go about your business and just continuously keep passing other guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think at the beginning, I didn't really believe that I was any worse than anybody else, or even really any smaller than anybody else. I think I grew up playing with my older brother's team, who's is 4.5 years older than me, and so I had just always kind of played with guys who are bigger than me, and so I think maybe I didn't even realize it at first, and so then I just started working, and it was after people started to get looks, and they were getting talked to more than I was. I think that just kind of added fuel to the fire. And looking back now, and I've had this conversation with my parents now, that they did a lot of encouraging, telling me that that I'll grow, and the guys who maybe didn't have to work as hard, who it came more naturally to, that it would even out, and they did encourage me a lot in that way. And I think I can look back now thankful for being on the smaller end of things, and thankful that I developed a work ethic that maybe not everybody had to, because it did come naturally to them. And so, I think those trials that I faced really did develop me into maybe a harder worker, or because it gave me an awareness of really the things that I needed to work towards. And I'm thankful that I gained that awareness early on, and I think it's benefited me ever since.
How did your parents play a role in it? Like from high school all the way to college, and now into pro ball. Like, what was that life like with them on car rides home and at dinner and all of that, when you start seeing like the guys on your team getting questionnaires from major league clubs and division ones, giving them love? Like, what were those times like?
Yeah, I think they've been some of my biggest fans, and they did a lot of encouraging, and I think they've always believed in me just as much as I have, as I believed in myself. I think when when people told me, oh no, you're not gonna, like, you're not big enough. Like, let's think more realistically. You're not going to play Division I. I think they were almost just as surprised as I was, just because they've seen how much I've loved the game and how much work I've put in my whole life. And so, yeah, they really just walked right alongside me through all of it. And I mean, I'm thankful because they, as you guys probably remember, when I was coming into the Tiger Center multiple times a week, my mom was there with me, and so thankful that they were willing to like put in the time and the effort, the finances to help me to pursue my dream, even when it was tough in a lot of ways.
What's your opinion on being realistic and being like more of a realism than someone that is in the clouds? Like, how do you view that?
That's a good question. I think
I want you to be totally honest here, because this is something that I think about constantly, because we're about the same height. We're undersized to a certain degree in the baseball world, and I have pretty strong opinions on it, but I know it's probably against the norm, and I don't share it that often. But I think this is a really good case, because I think a lot of people who do watch this, that they're going to be more of the NAIA junior college guys, the ones that got overlooked, and not the Dave Burkbees who's tall and 6'4" and throws absolute shed and has a banger of a curveball. So, like, what's your true thoughts on it?
Yeah. Looking back, I remember there were people who we sought advice from when I was in high school, and they told me that, like I just mentioned, that it was unrealistic to think that I was going to play Division I, and that I should, start looking into applying for smaller schools, D2, NAI, or JUCO. But because it's funny, because looking back now, I do think that there was some truth to that. I think there was some truth to that. I think because it mentioned, I'm able to say now that I was undersized, and not just height wise, but I was underdeveloped and I was weak, and so I do think that there's some truth to the fact that I needed to develop, and with the experience that these advisors and coaches had, I know that they were just saying that there probably aren't many Division I coaches who would consider me, because they knew who I was as a player, but because the truth is that when, like, if you really want something, while it is true, that advisor was right. I did not go to a Division I college, but I still worked my tail off, and I was able to find a route, like a route, then because it, maybe the one that was most commonly taken. And so because it did, because I think it's important to be realistic to ourselves. I think because being realistic is the path to self-evaluation, and which I think is extremely important. I think when we're able to take an honest look at ourselves and where we're at, because I don't know if there's a lot of value in if someone was telling me that I was undersized and I just looked at them and said, "You're wrong, I'm not undersized," like, there would have been a downfall to that, because that wouldn't have been an honest self-evaluation. But I think where the edge comes in is when you're able to say, like, while because these things may be true, like, I'm going to work around it, I'm going to find another way. And I think that that edge is what is able to set people apart. And I think, there are things that people will criticize you in. And I think truthfully, like having a good understanding of who you are is really able to allows you to be able to determine like the direction that you're going to go. If I'm the biggest guy in the room and somebody comes up to me and says like, you're undersized, then I'll look at them and say, you're wrong. But if I'm the smallest guy in the room, then, and somebody says that, then I might say, okay, but like, I'm going to do something about it. And so I think, yeah, there is truth that we have to be able to look in the face. But I also think that you have to be able to accept what other people are going to say lightly and not hold on to it too tight and really just stay the course and where you're being led, just continue on that path regardless of what others have to say about it.
Do you feel like ignorance kind of helps with that too, to a certain degree?
I think so. I think there are definitely times.
You're in that time frame where iPhones were just starting to pop and information was starting to be more readily available, but it didn't hit scale. So it's almost like that not knowing with the social media scroll kind of benefited you in a certain way.
Yeah, I think so. I think there were things that I was unaware of that I do think helped me out if I was really caught up in, even thinking now, like TrackMan data and all these things, like I wasn't, I was undersized, I was weak, I wasn't putting up crazy numbers. And so, yeah, if like, I don't even remember our Tigers recruiting, if we had like velo and exit velo and all that on those, I don't know. But
yeah, it was an iPhone camera, and I think it was Jaws that was filming it like this.
Probably.
It's hard nosed.
I wasn't involved yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I do think that ignorance can be bliss in times like that.
I can tell you from personal experience, I got to the draft league out of Mobat and to Williamsport, and the first night I walk in and I see the data analytics guy in the dugout with the iPad. I'm like, what is that? And they're like, it's a strike zone from TrackMan. I'm like, are you serious? That's right now? And they're like, yeah. And they're looking at me like I'm stupid because my whole team played in Power 5 and Division I schools. And I was like, wait, that's actually the strike zone? Like, I can actually look at it like that? Yeah. And getting reports every game of like each at bat and where the pitches were located, I was like, this is incredible.
And we got to play those.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever had a locker room in my life was at Williamsport.
We have a clubhouse, we have a data guy. What else do we get?
It's like I just leave my bag here and no one's taking it. Like,
I still remember from junior college, the first road trip we took for Missouri State, and me and my buddy were sitting and we were on the bus and we wake up and we're at Hilton. I was like, oh my God, we're at Hilton. This is awesome. Yeah. We get into the lobby, and so we're trying to make like friends, like, hey, who wants to join up? What's that? We don't want to make sure we have like freshmen so that we both get beds, right? So that person sleeps on the floor. So as it goes, we'll ask people to get the rooms. Like, yeah, we only got 2 people in a room. And then Brock, like my roommate, he goes, man, I feel so bad right now. I was like, why do you feel bad? Shut up. Don't say anything. He raises his hand and our pitching coach, Luck, goes, yeah, Brock, what's up? He's like, hey, we only got 2 to a room. And everyone, like, it was like a dead silence, complete pin drop. And everyone just looked at us. And we're looking at them. And Luck just starts laughing. He goes, welcome to the show, boys. And he turns and goes,
that's great.
You come from those humble beginnings, and then you start getting these things. And the next thing you know, you're realizing, holy cow, we were really bummed at that point.
Because it did.
Kenny, what describe what the Tigers like mean to you, and how it influenced your career, and then could you also end up on like who's been the biggest influence on your career
Within the Tigers, or just
No, not within the Tigers. Like first Tigers, and then just like overall, like who's been that rock for you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm very thankful for my time with the Tigers. I remember my mom and I on YouTube watching the very first promotional video for the Tigers, and I think I joined maybe like the third year of the Tigers, right? And
Yep. So I still remember when you came in for like your first like workout, where it wasn't your tryout, but like you were working out on your own. And I go to Joss, I'm like, this kid is freaking awesome. Like, he just receives really well. Like, how old is he? And he goes, oh, he's a freshman. I'm like, oh, he's a freshman. And because you were tiny, you were like when you say you were undersized, like that, you were not because of overstating or anything. Like, you were undersized, but like the fundamentals that you had were unreal.
yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think probably at that time I was around 100 pounds, I think, right?
Yeah, you were. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 5'4", 5'5".
You might be overstating a little now. I don't know. I think I might have been less than that. Yeah, I remember we watched that very first promotional video and thought that it was just where I wanted to be. And I remember coming into the Tigers, and the first year was when I had made the orange team, and it was, I think, like we talked about, I think that just fueled a little bit of fire in me, like all those little things just kind of added to it. But I mean, the Tigers were incredible, and you guys worked with me a lot, and like my specific situation, I remember when we like switched from team to team, and you guys like gave me the option of the direction that I wanted to go, and even my wife and I were laughing a couple weeks ago. We were having a conversation, and we were talking about the ACT. I don't even remember what got us on that, but I was telling her that the first time that I took the ACT was as a freshman, and she was like, "What? Why?" And I just said, like, that's what, like, I remember the Tigers like encouraged us to do it, and I think that the Tigers were in that sense like what I needed to like prepare myself for college, and like all along the steps of the recruitment process, like you guys were there walking alongside me, and I'm thankful, even as I hear stories, and even at the time, the other organizations that were around the St. Louis area, the same thing that I said about my college coaches and college team is that I had always just felt like the Tigers had the most genuine coaching staff, and just the values that you guys had really aligned with my own. And I remember when I was going into freshman year, my mom gave me the option of Lutheran North High School was my brother had gone for a year, and so it was a private school that I was kind of interested in. And my mom said, we can either, like, basically financially, we can choose to do Lutheran North, or we can choose to do the Tigers. And she gave me the option, and it wasn't really a hard decision. I picked the Tigers. And so, very thankful for my time there. And look back with fond memories.
Now, who's been like the biggest like rock for you in your career?
That's a tough one. Too many coaches to sift through in my mind.
Wife and mom, pal.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was about to lean on. I think, truthfully, my parents, as I mentioned, I feel like it's inner circle, right? It's the inner circle. It's not. I guess it's not really technically one person. That inner circle really does influence how you perceive your career and how you move forward in your career. And it's probably a really good topic in general, is that you have to be really careful on who's your circle of influence and who you let into that circle, because you never know. Like if you end up letting like 10 to 20 people into that inner circle, you really don't have like a rock. But if you have a solid group of 3 to 4 individuals, whether that's your parents or your sister, brother, good friend, or wife or girlfriend, it's something that you have to really audit consistently. Is that a fair assessment? Because I think it is. Yeah, I think who I am today as a baseball player and as a man goes way beyond the coaching staff. And truthfully, my parents and my wife, really it's my career, I think, is a testament to how much they've sacrificed for me and supported me along the way. I was able to talk about my parents a little bit as, they just encouraged me and supported me, because it drove 45 minutes multiple times a week, there and back, just for me to, get some cage time. And, but my wife as well, obviously she came in the picture a little bit later, but she's been alongside of me my entire pro career now. And, because of the sacrifices that she's made, and now we're expecting a baby soon, and because of not knowing what life will look like, but her just encouraging me and telling me over and over again that, like, we're in this with you. Like, while others may tell you or you may feel like, you need to change something, you need to change your career, because, life is changing. She just says, like, we're going to figure it out. And, because it did, that's
awesome. Yeah, it's awesome, by the way. Like, you have someone like that, because there's a lot of players that end up not having that person that does that, and they end up ending their careers, and you never know what could have happened. Right. And being able to run that table, and because you only have a certain runway right now, and when you're able to run that end of that runway to see what happens, to see if it flies or it doesn't, I mean, that's awesome. Like, so kudos to her. Like, that's freaking awesome.
Right. And I think it's the people who are stable, after you come home from a game, it doesn't matter what you do in the game, but you come home and they love you and they eat a meal with you, and just continue to do life with you. I think that's because it's a real motivator, and it's really just as I reflect and think about my career as a whole, like, that has such value that I think sometimes can go unnoticed, but those are the people who throughout my career who I would say I'm most thankful for, along with tons and tons of great coaches and teammates.
We're kind of ended off on at this point, like, we're in a race putting you at coming up into spring training, and like, where are you really focused on this winter?
because it did. Yeah, so we'll go back to Port Charlotte, Florida for spring training. Obviously, I don't know after that where I'll go. If I had to give it my best guess, I would guess that I'd go back to Durham, North Carolina, the Durham Bulls, which I'm not complaining about because that place was awesome. Best minor league park and stadium and environment that I played in yet. And yeah, this off season, I learned a whole lot this season about myself as a player, and I have a lot that I want to tackle, and so with my swing, I've got a couple mechanical changes that I'm trying to make, and really just as I figured out my swing and my tendencies, the things that should be the first thing that I check off for myself when things maybe aren't going great. Those are the things that I'm trying to nail down this off season, and really excited for this upcoming spring and getting back with the guys.
Where's the big league club going to be playing now? That Tropicana does not look too hot right now.
No, it doesn't. I literally probably 15 minutes before this call, I saw a post about I think we're going to be in the Yankees spring training facility.
Oh gosh,
because I think that that's in Tampa as well, and so I think that's the closest facility to Tropicana, and so I think that's where they'll be at.
And that stadium looks like a shredded convertible top.
I know. Crazy. No, I had no idea what would happen. I didn't know if they would pour some money back into that to fix it, but truthfully, I'm not a big fan of the dome anyway, so.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you guys get a new stadium at some point.
So I think that was in the works. In 2028, they were projected to finish a new stadium, and so I didn't know if they were going to pour some money back into this one to fix it up. But
I mean, Tampa's a good market, though. I mean, look at the Lightning. They crush. They crush all the time. It's like I feel like the Rays could do the same thing. And I mean, when you guys go on those playoff runs, feel like the fan base gets really behind you guys. So it'd be awesome to see that city get even better inside the baseball space, because I mean, it's such a good area for baseball, just in general.
Yeah. So I do wonder, because it is in St. Pete. The stadium is actually in St. Pete, and so I wonder even if, like in Tampa, what kind of difference that might make. I don't know.
100%.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Like if they moved that to Tampa, you probably get a way better fan base. But I mean, again, that's all above our pay grades, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm not the one making those decisions, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. This has been an awesome conversation. Dave, Carter, you got any other questions on, or we can end it here?
No, I mean, really just thank you for coming on, dude. Sharing the story. Whenever we started these, I knew I wanted to get you on here. Our stories are crazy similar. And when you were walking me through like your journey, from freshman in high school all the way to professional baseball, like I was like, yep, that was me at one point. Yep, that was me at one point. So yeah, it was cool to listen to for sure.
Yeah, happy to be on.
Yeah, I'll share a personal story. It was the year you got drafted, so your fifth year, and it was my fourth year at Mobap. I remember I was still a guy, I was a mental midget still. If I struck out, if I swung over a changeup or whatever, I went back to the dugout, I thought something was wrong with my swing, right? And I couldn't bounce back from that bat like that. And I remember it was one of the games. You ended up striking out, and you walked to the dugout like you literally didn't care. And I was like, how does he do that? Because I'd walk to the dugout, if I struck out, domed up every time. And I remember I spoke to Boomer whenever I went and played the Meek League, when I played against Sedalia. I was like, hey, he's like, yeah, Kenny's like this, Kenny's like this, Kenny's like this. And I was like, okay, I need to. So I consciously worked on that. Because obviously you ended up getting drafted. And then I was like, I want to play professional baseball. And whenever we played against you guys, I was like, all right, Kenny's probably gonna get a chance to play professional baseball. And I was like, I need to be like this because I was like this all the time. And I was like you were saying earlier, I was entirely wrapped up. Like if I had a bad series, I was a bad person. Like I was that guy for a very long time. And when I got to my 5th year, like I consciously worked on like what I was just talking about, like over the summer and Nigley, and then in the fall ball, and like I got into the 5th year, and I finally actually like played free, and it was incredible. So I know like we never actually had a conversation about it, but I figured I'd share because I got the chance to today. But
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Yeah. I miss the old rivalry days, man.
that shit was fun.
Because
I'll
it did-
share Mark's story then, and then we can wrap this up. This is about Kenny, and I think it's a good story that resonates with who Kenny is, who his parents are, and it's a good story that can help kids along the way. So we were on a road trip to Columbia playing a doubleheader one day. We had just gotten done. It's your 17th year with Hunger. And I think we just sat down at a restaurant. We were eating, and we got a call from our 18U coach that a couple guys got sick. They randomly needed players. Hunger couldn't even get the words out of his mouth that one of those guys would go play. You raise your hand, run out the door. You had just gotten food, and your mom goes, all right, let's go. Get in the car. Kenny was out the door before anyone knows it because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to go play baseball. So I think that's a good story about who you are, who your parents were, and I couldn't be happier for you, dude.
because it did. Appreciate that.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode.